In today's build guide, we will look at a Condi Scourge build that will enable you to solo pretty much anything you want. That will include your stories, achievements, collections, and anything else you want in open world, including some hard bosses and events. With this build, you will apply tons of conditions, including burning and torment, and you will have a very high uptime of protection, which will help you sustain significantly in the fight. For the armor, we are using Trailblazer armor with undead runes, except the chest and the leggings are vipers. But if you wanted to use a full Trailblazer instead, that will be fine. You will just do a little less damage. We are using a Viper Staff with Sigil of Strength and Corruption, and a Viper Scepter with Sigil of Strength, with a Viper Torch with Sigil of Malice. The trinkets will also be a full set of Viper. And I have plenty of guides that shows you how to gear up any character from scratch. You will find the links in the description. For the food, we are using the Fishy Rice Bowl, and for the utility, we are using the Corsair Tuning Crystal. I'm also using a tier 10 Jade Bot Core with this build, which boosts my vitality a little, but you can use tier 1 and it will work just fine. If you want to know more about Jade Bot Cores or what are the best modules to use with them for profit, I have guides on this. I will leave them in the description below. For the traits, we are using Soul Reaping 113, Death Magic 112, and Scourge 212. For the utility skills, we are using 3 minions, our Heal, our Elite, and Shadow Fiend, and then we are using Signet of the Locust and Signet of the Undeath. I will leave a link below with all the details for the build, including the traits, utility skills, and gear and everything. Now let's understand how the build works. The most important mechanic about the Scourge are the shades, and with this build, you will be able to use 3 shades in total. You can see some dots here right beside the shades, and that indicates how many shades do you currently have in use. For every shade you will summon, you will see one of those dots light up, and when we have all 3 together, you can see all the 3 dots lit up, and when you hover it says shades 3 out of 3. Every time you use your F1 skill, you will apply 2 stacks of vulnerability, you will apply 1 stack of burning from Doomfire, you will apply 1 stack of torment by default from the Scourge itself, and then the Grandmaster here, Demonic Lore, will apply burning when you apply torment. So if I just use my F1 alone right now on the Golem, you will see those conditions all together. All of your Shroud skills will do their effect around you and around the shade, and all of your Shroud skills will do the exact same effect that your F1 will do. So even though your F2 doesn't do any damage directly, it will do the exact same conditions and damage that your F1 will do. If I use my F2 right now, you can see the same conditions that we got when we used our F1. That means you can drop your shades wherever you want, and you will control the damage that will happen around all of those spaces, and then on top of that, you will count as a shade, and so you will apply damage around you. So technically, you can control 4 spaces, 3 from the shades, and 1 from you. One other thing to keep in mind is even if you are standing right beside the target and you have the shade, you will not do the damage twice, it will only happen once. For every shade you will have, you will get an extra 75 concentration and expertise, and also from this trait, for every shade, you will get 5% damage reduction. So it will be very important to have as many shades out there as you can to make the best use out of those traits. From the Death Magic trait line, our minions will have more health, and they will take conditions away from you. On top of the benefits they will give you, they will also take the aggro from you, and they will tank the enemies for you. And so the first thing you want to do whenever you go to any map is always summon your minions. Also from the Death Magic trait line, we will have an effect that you can see on your bar now, and for every stack, this will give you 20 toughness. When you have 10 or more of that effect, it will reduce the condition damage you take by 10%, and when you have 25 or more, it will give you permanent protection. And this effect will be easy to get, as you will see later in the footage. Now let's start talking about how to use this build in action. The first thing you want to do, as we mentioned, is you want to always summon your minions first, and then you basically want to spam all of your Shroud skills and all of your Scepter Torch skills. We have Sigil of Corruption on the staff. So if you found yourself on a map and you feel like you are going to stay on it for some time, it is good to start with your staff first to get some kills and build up your stacks, and when you feel like you have enough or you reach the maximum amount, you can switch back to your Scepter Torch again. But regardless of the weapon, you want to make sure you are always using your Shroud skills. This will be the main thing in your build. Your F2 skill will remove conditions, F3 will give you a barrier, your F4 will do some damage and it will fear, and your F5 will do a lot of damage and a lot of conditions, and it will also give you a lot of barrier. If you found yourself running out of life force and you are not able to use your Shroud skills as often as you want to, try changing to this trait in the Soul Reaping trait line. It will reduce the damage a little, but it should help with life force. And another one, if that was not enough, you can also have Soul Marks, and whenever you find yourself low on life force, just use your staff skills, then this will drop marks, which will build up life force for you. Also, when we use the active skill from the Shadow Fiend, this will give us some life force. And that is also why we have Signet of Undeath, to help a little with life force. All of that should mean that your life force should be up all the time, and you can use all of your Shroud skills whenever you want them. Signet of the Locust is not only there for the speed, it is also there for healing. If you use that skill in the middle of multiple enemies, it will heal you for a very big amount, and you will see later in the footage how much healing this Signet can provide when you use it in the middle of many enemies. As for CCs whenever you want to break bar, you have the Charge Elite skill when you have your Golem summoned, and then you have your skill number 5 on Torch. You also have the Fear, and then you also have Cripple. Those will help with the breaking bar. And if that was not enough, you also have your Staff. You can apply more Fear and Chills. The build will work fine without any buffs, but if you interact with any anvil in the open world, it will give you this effect which will increase your sustain. And then anytime you see those offensive and defensive protocols, try to interact with them because they will give you those buffs which will increase your damage and it will increase your sustain even further, and it will also give you a lot of wounds during the fight. If you don't know about those protocols or how the Jade bots in general work, I have a guide that explains all of that in details. You will find a link for it in the description below. If you want to see some of my other build guides for open world and group content, I will leave links for them in the description below. I will now leave you with some footage for this build in action. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next guide.